April 1st, the poor widow. Luke chapter 20 verse 46 through to chapter 21 verse 4. Beware the scribes who like to walk around in long robes and love greetings in the marketplaces and the best seats in the synagogues and the places of honor at feasts, who devour widows' houses and for pretense make long prayers. They will receive the greater condemnation. Jesus looked up and saw the rich putting their gifts into the offering box, and he saw a poor widow put in 2 small copper coins. And he said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all of them, for they all contributed out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty put all she had to live on." It had been a testing few hours for Jesus in the Jerusalem temple, but every attack on him had failed. Now he was counseling his disciples to beware of religious leaders, in this case the scribes. He exposed them with surgical precision. They were men who loved to have position and praise, but would devour widows' houses, verse 47. We encounter their heirs today in the guise of preachers who manipulate people to part with their savings. How fitting, then, that at this point Jesus could see people coming into the temple with their gifts. They were heading either for one of the side rooms where donations were received, or perhaps to one of the trumpet-shaped receptacles where gifts could be deposited. Perhaps the size of the gifts of the rich was made fairly obvious by the noise of their coins hitting the side or bottom of the offering boxes. Perhaps a group of idle Jerusalem boys were playing Guess the Offering as they heard the pings or clunks the coins made. But Jesus was watching one person in particular, a poor widow, chapter 21 verse 2. Luke admired this about Jesus. He noticed and cared about the weak and disadvantaged. The word widow appears more than twice as often in Luke's Gospel as in the other 3 combined. As Jesus watched, he noticed what the widow put in. Perhaps he saw her hand move only twice and scarcely heard the 2 tiny sounds as the coin dropped in. But he noticed something else that was even less obvious to the others. Something about her, the way she looked, or who knows, perhaps the tears in her eyes. The Saviour knew that this woman had given everything she had. Think of that. Do you know how much is left in this week's housekeeping budget? Or how much is in your wallet? Or whether you need to worry about the amount on your credit cards? If making sure that ends meet is a concern for you, you are probably in a better position to imagine what it was like for this widow to part with her 2 copper coins. And if it's not, if all your bills for the month are covered, and if you have no debts to pay and there's still cash in your wallet, do you ever think of emptying your wallet into the church offering? Think about that this Sunday. Or when you read this passage, do you see it through tinted lenses that delude you into thinking that it was okay for the widow to give all she had because it didn't amount to much anyway? Jesus' point was that she gave everything she had and kept nothing back. By his calculus, she gave more than all the rich people who had put their gifts into the treasury. They gave out in abundance. They still had plenty. They thought of giving in terms of what would still be left for themselves. She thought of it in terms of giving everything she had to the Lord, even if she had nothing left for herself. Plus, she was a widow. There was no backstop for her. Did Jesus perhaps raise his voice a little? Did he make sure that everyone heard him say, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all of them," verse 3? Did she become aware that Jesus was watching her? Did she see love written all over his face? If so, it would be all the reward and comfort she would ever need. That look would have been worth a fortune to her. The real issue isn't about money, is it? It's about the heart. But too often our money sticks to our hearts. It's wonderful that Jesus noticed this widow. If anything, it's even more wonderful that he saw someone give everything she had to the Lord. For this week would end with him giving everything he had as well. In that respect, in her own small way, this dear widow was Jesus-like. Today's reflection. When you became a disciple of Jesus, you gave him all you are and have. But have you gradually been taking it back? What difference does it make to remember that Jesus gave everything he had for you? This devotional series
is being produced with the kind permission of the Good Book Company. A link to the book To Seek and to Save by Sinclair Ferguson can be found in the description below.